13 years ago, we attempted to start a podcast using Google Hangouts. It didn't work out. Our intros were so ridiculous we could not stop laughing. Before we get started with the real show, let's go ahead and listen to some of those outtakes. I got about a minute of them for you.
Hello everyone, my name is Samuel, and you may remember me from such films as Who Ran Over My Cat? No, seriously, you guys will probably remember me from my...
Alright, I'm gonna give a countdown. 3? Yeah, 3!
You can't even give the countdown right! Hello everyone, my name is Samuel. You'll probably remember me from such films as Who Ran Over My Cat? No, seriously, you guys will probably remember me from my Viking Firebeard YouTube channel. I do a lot of pickup videos. Damn it, Scott, what the hell are you doing?
Ready?
I farted. Oh, man.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Are you still worried about Fifi?
oh man.
The Vintage View Podcast, Episode 1. Hey everyone, this is Scott from the Vintage Gamers. This is the Vintage View Podcast. I think that's what we're calling this thing.
Sure, why not?
But yeah, it's as good as any, really.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're just doing a show to kind of introduce ourselves, introduce the podcast, and all that fun stuff. So, like I said, I am Scott. I am the person who runs the website. I have Sam with me.
Hello,
He is
everybody.
the guy who basically writes the articles.
Yep, that's me, the writer.
I used to write, but I got sidetracked, and now I'm doing other things. And
You
Anyway.
forgot how.
yeah, I don't know how to spell anymore.
Well, that's actually a problem that I have, even at my gigantic old age. But the thing is, Google is great help. Because if I'm not sure of how a word is spelt, I just go through and Google it, and then I go, is that what I mean to say? Yes or no? A little bit
Hey.
of a tech tip for all you aspiring writers out there.
Or all you old people,
Or all you old people, yeah.
because Sam says you're old, or he's old. So
Yeah. Well,
even though he's
I
like
mean,
6 years younger than me or something.
Yeah,
so-
I'm about ready to turn 41, so I think basically I'm
Okay, you're
over
3
the
years.
hill and I'm sliding down quite quickly into the grave.
Just watch out for that tree or two in the way.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know
Enough of the sad stuff.
See, I don't even know if we call ourselves vintage gamers because we cover vintage games, or if the fact that we're old.
I think it started out that we covered vintage games, and now that we are ancient, I think we ourselves are the vintage gamers.
Ah, yes. But so what are we planning on doing with this podcast? Obviously, this one we're going to be introducing ourselves and kind of just generally talking. But I guess in the future, one thing that we want to do is just pick a topic relating to retro games or even new games. If there's something that strikes our fancy, we'll go ahead and talk about it, and we'll maybe analyze it. Every once in a while, maybe we'll have a guest or two or something on here, and we'll go from there. So you're the one that wanted to get together today. So what do you want to talk about other than, introducing ourselves?
Anything in general. You had mentioned earlier that I should probably talk about my current project of going through video games. I had already beaten Zelda 1 many years ago, and I had never beaten Zelda 2. Now, I don't want to talk too much about it because I think that might become a point of contention. A lot of people seem to like the game. A lot of people probably don't. It exists.
It's okay. You can say it wasn't your cup of tea.
Well, I don't think it wasn't my cup of tea. I just think it's the textbook definition of Nintendo hard. And some points, at least to me, just felt like they were there only because they couldn't think of anything else to do. many times I found myself just frustrated and doing things over and over and over again. And with that point being said, that is with save states. So not
Well,
only do I suck at a game in general, I suck even though I'm using save states.
well, I'll tell you though, that's exactly how I felt about Simon's Quest, but that was still my favorite Castlevania game. But I
Yes.
did beat that well before the internet.
Yeah.
It took me like 3 or 4 months to do it, but I did beat it.
Well, I had gone back through and I had played Crystalis, and you already know this, but for the listeners, they don't. Um, and that's one of my favorite RPGs of all time, hands down. The story goes, and this is just to take all the people back. I had gotten a Nintendo in like the mid 90s. So this is after the Super Nintendo had come out and everybody was done with the regular Nintendo and they were just handing them off as, secondhand to whomever. And
So
I
they
was
got mine.
asking, yeah, I was asking people, I'm like, do you have Nintendo tapes, is what we called them back then. And at the Dairy Queen that used to be up the street, there was a kid who worked there, and he said, I'll bring some games over tonight for you to test them. One of them was Dragon Warrior, another was Crystalis, and he had like a third, and I can't remember what it was. I didn't like Dragon Quest then because I was very young and I wanted action, immediate action. And Crystalis gave that in spades. The caveat was the kid said it was his mom's favorite video game, so he would have to ask her if he could sell it.
Wow.
And yeah, maybe that's part of why I connected with it, other than the fact that it is just genuinely a really good video game. And I genuinely did connect with that one very deeply. I asked the kid later, went to Dairy Queen, and I'm like, so what did your mom say? And he's like, nope, she wants to keep it. So then I started looking through Funko Land. Remember going through and finding those newspapers that they had every video game, and it had the little price right next to it? I did that over and over and over. Well, I did it once to find out how much it cost, but I went to the store over and over and over, and I was trying to get my own copy, and eventually I bought my own copy. The thing that makes me sad is their policy of getting rid of the boxes, manuals, and all that stuff, and putting it in those little cardboard Funcoland sleeves. But it did come with a nice little printout that explained the game. So I get home with it, and immediately I go to the internet. Now these, it's still early days, so it's a text walkthrough. And it was probably the size of a notebook when I finished printing it out. So I sit down and I play the game all the way through, and it was one of the best experiences I ever had. And still to this day, Crystalis is one of my favorite RPGs ever. And to go back through it the other day, it really, it held a lot of those memories. And I had forgotten a lot of things too, but going through it again was amazing. And I had used this guide online. I'm not sure whether we want to give a shout out to the YouTube channel or not. We'll discuss that later. But I used it, and the guy's guide was really good, and it, taught me all the places that I'd forgotten. It was really good. Now, the only problem that I have with Crystalis is the annoyance of not everything in the cave requires the same sword. So you'll find yourself swapping out swords back and forth. That's a little bit of an annoyance, but I think it's totally acceptable because the game itself is so good.
Well, take a look at the Zelda games. You use all kinds of other things throughout the game, so I don't see that as being
True.
really an issue.
No, you do bring up a good point. That is a good point. Yeah. One RPG on the NES that I really love is Willow.
See, I've never actually played that.
You've never? Ooh. Does that sound like a First Play Friday or Friday First Play or whatever we're calling it?
Come on, I've had the First Play Fridays out there for a long time, and now you're just now remembering?
Yeah, I told you I forgot things about my favorite RPG.
Well, maybe that should be a First Play.
If my name wasn't literally tattooed on my arm in Viking runes, I would
Are you
forget your
ruined?
name.
Is that what's going on?
I am ruined, yes. Very much so.
But when it comes down to when I got my NES, it was what, 94, 95 maybe? Yes, I know. I was a little behind the times too, because I had an
It
Atari up
happens.
until then. But one game that I played drove my sister crazy because she hated it. Ultimate Exodus. And that is also an RPG. I went back and played it, and it's not as fun as I remember, but shortly after I got interested in role-playing games because of that game, I got a copy of Dragon Warrior, and I loved that game. And then I went to Final Fantasy and everything. And when it comes to weird stories, there was, near where I lived, there was a game rental place where I'd gotten, was it Dragon Warrior 3 or 4? I don't remember which. And I played the heck out of that. And one day I realized, it's going to be late. So I went to the front desk and had that, and I said, sorry, this is supposed to be returned yesterday. And then as I left, I realized this is Saturday, and they closed half an hour ago. So I'm just walking into the store. They forgot to lock the door, apparently. Just handing them a game on the day before it was actually due, because apparently I didn't know what day it was.
Mm-hmm. You bringing up rental places, that brings up a lot of nostalgia in a couple of ways for me. Because, going and spending the weekend at my friend's house who had literally every console on launch. And we would go to the local video rental store, and it was just, a gold mine for kids. But, well, kids would have fun in there, not the dirty stuff that the internet's doing nowadays. But basically, they started selling off their old stock of NES and Super Nintendo games. And
Nice.
I remember picking up a lot of stuff super cheap. I think it was like $4 a piece or 3 for $10. That's kind of what my brain, but as we've discussed previously, my brain's very faulty.
So the friend that had all the consoles, is it the one that I borrowed the Super Nintendo and Earthbound from and loaned him my Saturn?
Yep.
Okay. Now I'm up to speed.
Yeah, we used to go to the video rental store, and they had a lot of stuff, and it was great. But when they were selling off their old stock, I would go in there with my lawn mowing money, and I would pick up 3 when I could, and that was the greatest time. However, it was also not the greatest time because there was very little on the internet to go by. So, as a child growing up in a state where basketball is huge, when you look at a game that says Jordan versus Bird, and you go, this is going to be amazing, and then you get it home, and it is one of the worst piles of crap. Yeah. But the thing is, I had it complete in box, if that means anything. I also bought Wayne's World from there. And Wayne's World was absolutely terrible.
Of course, it was a licensed game.
Yeah.
Most licensed games, even now, are still pretty terrible, but there are a few that are pretty good.
There's the Jurassic Park on the Super Nintendo that has like the kind of isometric or 3D, and like it changes back and forth. That's something that I want to get into.
Well, there's also, some of the old like Batman games. I don't remember if it's the one on Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo, but it's widely regarded as a very good beat 'em up game.
Oh yeah. I not to brag or anything, but I guess I could go on talking about all the stuff I've picked up at flea markets. That'll probably be another podcast onto itself. But I had picked up. I'm gonna have to Google this really quick because there were quite a few Batman games on all the consoles. Batman Returns is absolutely phenomenal as a beat 'em up game. Careful, I'm about ready to say something terrible, but I'm not that much into beat 'em up games. Like, give me Double Dragon, sure. Give me River City Ransom, sure. But when it comes into like, Street Fighter, I guess it's more of a fighter game.
It is.
But like, oh my God, what was the one with Hagar in it? Wasn't he like the mayor of the town?
Oh, I don't remember. Wasn't that Street
Yeah.
Fighter 2? No.
No. It was like there was a guy in there literally named Guy. Um Yeah, this just basically proves how faulty my mind is. And I'm
It's been
dragging
so
you down.
long.
Oh my gosh.
Final Fight.
Yes, thank you. Final Fight. I
had to think about it.
that one. Like the Streets of Rage and stuff.
Wasn't that a Namco game? Hold
Which
on, let
one?
me Google that. Oh, actually, it was Capcom.
Okay.
Never mind.
Yeah, the thing is, I like them. I can play them for short periods of time, but I don't have the aspiration to go all the way through. I mean, even the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, like the arcade game, I was kind of like, okay. And here's a little bit of a secret: I beat the arcade game, not the arcade game, but the NES version of Teenage Mutant
Ninja Turtles 2.
Yes, thank you. My tongue is
Oh.
But I remember I had just bought the NES Advantage as a child, and I put in a code to go all the way to the end. So I had all the way to the end immediately, and I had the turbo function. So, yeah, I cheated, but I did beat the game.
That kind of reminds me what I used to do with the Sega Genesis with the original Sonic. I remember playing and beating the game normally, but then I discovered the level select code and I realized something that was kind of cool. I still have yet to go back and actually fully do all of it, but if you do the level select code and go to the special level and you play through the special level and get a Chaos Emerald, you can press reset on the console and then keep doing that until you have all the Chaos Emeralds, and then you can go to the last level and beat the game, and you should get the special ending. I kind of got bored after getting like 3 or 4 of the Chaos Emeralds.
I never knew that.
But it doesn't work on emulation because obviously when you reset on an emulator, it doesn't have the same effect as on a console. But
that makes sense, yeah. I think a lot of people would be quite angry at me to know that I've played all 3 of the Genesis Sonics, including Knuckles, but I've never beat any of them.
Technically, that's 4.
Yeah, true. I will tell you one story, because I guess it's story time tonight, but I don't know what had happened. My sister's boyfriend had a Sega not a Genesis, but the Game Gear. And I guess he was going on vacation and left it at our house for my sister. I'm not getting into teenage love back in the 90s. I don't understand it. But for some reason, he left it.
You don't understand adult love.
Yeah, I still don't understand it. But
anyway,
he had left it with us for whatever reason, and I took to it like a fly to Dookie, and I'm playing the hell out of it. And I remember that one I almost completed. But like the actual Sega Genesis console Sonics, I've never beaten those.
I've beaten the first one, and I've beaten the Game Boy Advance one, the Sonic.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I think it was just called Sonic, wasn't it?
Probably. I totally forgot that one existed.
I really liked it. Oh, Sonic Advance. That's what it was.
Okay. But did you beat Mario and Sonic at the Olympics?
I've played that for like 10 minutes and realized some of these games have terrible controls. I don't like it. I will not play it again.
I've actually never played it.
No, actually, I did give it a try. The thing is some of the controls and some of the sports are pretty good.
Okay.
But the controls on some of the other ones, either they're not intuitive or my brain just doesn't compute because it felt so terrible and backwards that I just didn't want to bother doing it.
I think it should go without saying, but I totally agree that lately my brain does not compute with things, because earlier I was trying to get back into an Xbox game that I absolutely loved back in the day, And my brain was just like, too much going on, can't do it. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's going on there. Kept hitting the wrong button. And I'm like, oh gosh, I am so out of practice. And I'm not sure whether I'll ever play that ever again. And again, sadly, it was one of my favorite Xbox games of its era. And I think it's widely panned as one of the worst Xbox games, if not worst video games ever.
No, one of the worst games I've played was the Crash Test Dummies.
That one's not too bad.
Well,
honestly.
you might have seen the video on our YouTube channel, and it's horrible. I thought it was horrible.
Now, are you talking about the video being terrible or the video game being terrible?
Yes.
Or both? Yeah.
Dude, I recorded that episode in a bar with their Wi-Fi while streaming it.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't come out bad, but I had a freaking a microphone that's meant to sit on the desk, and it plugs into a 3.5 millimeter jack, a TRS jack, and we were basically passing it around like we were Bob Barker, you know?
Yes.
Because it was a long, like one of those long ones. Like, here, talk into it. But no, it was a terrible episode, but even worse game. That's why we're going to resurrect the series eventually.
Talking about the Crash Test Dummies, like, it was interesting to see how they did all the weird games on the NES. Because I remember, at least for myself, emulation came around probably about 99, 2000. I got really heavy into emulation.
Oh, yeah.
And when you start researching the NES library, the weirder it gets. And for a myriad of reasons, because, we have to take into account the localization of a game made in another country where the American Nintendo had such stringent rules of what a video game in this country could be, and things kind of got weird in some respects.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Things do get weird. And
I was confused by, what was it, The Legend of the Ghost Lion, or whatever it was. There's a lady in spandex with long curly blonde hair and like a white lion. I'm not sure that has anything to do with the RPG, but the cover was quite weird.
Well, I mean, look at the Mega Man games. Those cover arts do not match the game at all.
No, not at all. Though there is a story. Go ahead.
I was gonna say those are just some dude with a gun just running around, whereas in the game you're a robot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, android.
And I was gonna say, I believe there's a story about that where Nintendo was just like, hey, or it was a Capcom, sorry. Capcom was just like, hey, here's our premise, do something, and the guy's like, okay, so it's a guy running around, he's got a gun, so he didn't really have much to go on, and they didn't give him much to go on, so that's basically what we ended up getting.
Yeah, what's worse is I think on the second game they still had something similar to that, and then eventually they started getting him more android-like.
Yeah.
But in the early days of video games, they rarely looked like the box art anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm looking at them now on the Google Images, and yeah, the first one, it kind of looks like a samurai, because he's got both gold and blue in his armor. And then on the second one, they did get closer, because at least he's wearing blue, but it still looks too human. He still looks far too human, and I'm not sure. He's like a phaser or a blaster or something, so it is much closer on the second one. But when they got to the third one, yeah, that's when they really got down to it.
Because I think the third one's when they introduced Rush, wasn't it? And they're like, it's a robot dog, and then someone's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should make him a robot too.
Yeah. I believe Japan had better names, though. Rock and Roll.
Yeah, I mean, Rockman.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, they definitely had some better games. I mean, come on.
True, yeah.
Holy Diver.
Mm-hmm.
Literally
I would.
referencing Ronnie James Dio, Ozzy Osbourne, and Zakk Wylde. Come on. That
I
should have made
would.
it to the U.S.
It should have, because I mean, not to be like, oh, that's ours, but rock and roll and heavy metal and stuff was so popular in America at that time. I know it was hugely popular over there as well, but it probably would have done really well over here. And I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall at that pitch meeting. Somebody sitting down going, okay, so I've heard this song and it goes do 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 do. They're like, uh-huh, uh-huh. He's like, what I want to do is make a video game out of that. And they're like, what? Yeah. So this little man with long curly black hair comes out and he starts screaming about Holy Diver. And okay. And how are we getting a video game out of this? Hold on, he's been down too long in the Midnight Sea. Okay, but did he make sure to come up slowly so he didn't get the bends? I don't know. It doesn't say in the song. Which is, we're not going to include that part in the video game. So it's about a diver. No. It's about heavy metal. You've lost us.
But it's funny, though. That was one game, but there is another game that's, I think, it came out well before that. It was 1982 for the Atari 2600, Journey Escape.
Oh, yeah.
The game is literally the Journey Escape album cover, and the music is Don't Stop Believing.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's actually one of the articles you've written, isn't it?
Maybe. Dude, I don't remember anymore.
Yeah. I think you did that one, and
I did.
A Dragon Quest thing, which really the thing is I have to blame you for my Dragon Quest, because you were telling me it's a good game, and I'm not disagreeing. It's the fact that you kept telling me it's a good game that forced me to play it. So in a way, I'm thanking you and blaming you for what I'm currently on is going through and playing Dragon Quest. Although I played Dragon Quest in 2010, I played Dragon Quest 2 in 2015, 2016, and then literally last year I did Dragon Quest 3. So I have my save set up for Dragon Quest 4, but all I really want to do is just run around and power level. Yeah. That's a terrible thing for me when I get into an RPG is I want to be more powerful than what I'm going to face in a dungeon. I don't know whether maybe that's a common thing with people who play RPGs. Maybe it's just a me thing. But I go out and I go the extra mile just to make sure that I'm a few levels higher than what I expect it should take.
To be fair, that's actually good practice.
Well,
with RPGs.
I mean, that's weird of you saying something that I do is good practice. That makes me feel weird now. Like I'm doing the right thing?
Hey man, that's how it works. No, the thing is though, with Final Fantasy 1, one thing you can do is you can go and fight the first boss at level 1 and beat him almost every single time if you choose all warriors. But if you have a balanced party, then you still want to run around until you're at least level 3, 4, maybe even 5 to go fight.
That's something that I found out in Zelda 2. In Zelda 2, the guide that I watched, the guy went through and he did, he collected the important things from all the palaces, but he didn't fight the boss. So as we're going through together, as if this guy and I know each other, we don't, we're going through this journey together, and we're leveling up. And by the time we get through all the rest of the game, we have all the items, and it's time to go and kill all the bosses. They're not giving you 300 experience now. They're giving you 4,000 experience.
Mm-hmm.
So you're power leveling and kicking this boss in the butt far too easy. And that's the part of Zelda 2 that I really enjoyed. Although it's not manufactured by the gameplay, but you can definitely go through all the dungeons or palaces, collect the item, and come back out. And that was definitely one of the things that I found extremely fun, was going back through and just slaughtering all the bosses afterwards.
I could see that.
But Final Fantasy, the first one, was definitely a game that I greatly enjoyed. The problem being, I was an idiot teenager, and I had frustration issues. So it was a bit
So you
frustrating.
sold it and you don't have it anymore?
I don't think you could be
That's what
any
happened
more
with me.
wrong. Yeah, I've still got mine, and it's taped together.
No, I'm one of those stupid people that, as a younger person, I used to sell and trade games and get diminishing returns. So 3 games to get 1 game, and then include that game with 2 other games to sell and get enough for another game. And so I don't have a lot of the games that I used to, and it pisses me off. But what are you gonna do? That's how you are when you're a kid. Or
Could I tell my Funko
younger.
Land story then?
I mean, you could. I never had much experience with Funko Land. They actually, when I was living in Arizona, they came in January of 2000.
Really?
And I just
And it was still
Googled, and they closed in December of, well, they didn't close, but they switched over to GameStop in December, because that's when the company was officially ended.
Yeah.
So they were only there for literally 1 year before it switched from Funko Land to GameStop.
I'm surprised it was that late even, because we had one Funko Land store, and it was miles before there were any other stores. And I remember it going into GameStop probably, and again, this is my faulty memory. Oh man, now that I'm thinking about it, I could be totally off, so I'm not even going to give a date. But the Funko Land story is this. Pretty much as you were saying, selling off and trading off video games. I was stupid as well. And what I had done was, I had moved over almost entirely to the PlayStation 1. I think it was like 99, because I had gotten mine in 98. And I think I had moved over entirely in 99. So I was thinking not my Super, didn't have a Super Nintendo until 2001, which is a totally different story. My regular Nintendo, my Sega Genesis, all that stuff had to go, because I wanted Resident Evil, the director's cut. And I went in, I saw it, it was $14.99, and I'm thinking, I can do this. I'm going to clear this and have money coming back to me. And I was completely and totally wrong. They took everything from my Nintendo, including the complete inbox Wayne's World, including a whole bunch of other stuff. And the dude's like, okay, here's what we can give you. And he handed me a receipt. He said, walk around, see if you want anything. And if you want anything, let me know. If not, hand me back the receipt. We'll give you all this stuff back. Not a big deal. I'm like, okay. So I'm standing there, and I'm looking at the Resident Evil, and I'm looking at the receipt that says like $8 for everything. And I'm thinking, this just doesn't feel right. So I go up and I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't want to sell any of that stuff. And the dude's like, oh, sorry, man, we've already started packing that stuff away. What? Yeah, we can't take the Nintendo because it doesn't have a regulation charger, or the power adapter. We can't take this, we can't take that, but yeah, we've packed everything else away in inventory. And I'm going, I want my stuff back. And the dude just like, I'm sorry, man, it's been inventoried here. So, reluctantly, instead of causing a stink, I decided to go ahead and buy Resident Evil Director's Cut, and I proceeded to have one of the best summers of my life. But as I age, I look at the rising price of a complete in-box copy of Wayne's World, no matter how terrible the game is, and I want to go grab the guy by the mullet, shove his face into the desk, and go, give me my stuff back, or I will pee on your head.
That's a little awkward.
Well, I had to make it awkward. That's what's going to bring the audience back. They're going to wonder, whose head am I going to pee on this week?
And that story is why you call GameStop ShameStop.
Well, there are definitely other stories, because that was Funko Land. I have another
that's right.
word. Yeah, I have another word for Funko Land that I can't use here. What is our ESRB here?
Well, if need be, I can always beep it out. But,
Okay.
you know.
I call Funko Land Fuck You Land. That's going to have to be beeped.
I mean, we could.
But yeah, the thing was, I didn't mind Funko Land until I sold stuff to them. And that's when things turned. But I do remember after that, at some point, again, I'm not even going to put a date on it, everything started changing over to GameStop, and GameStop was the exact same thing. So that's why I'm kind of like, yeah, they're ShameStop.
Well, the funny thing is what you described was a meme several years ago. Shows literally a whole game room worth of games and a caption saying, "I'll give you $12 for that."
Oh yeah. Well, see, I've got a tagline for ShameStop. ShameStop, power to the shareholders.
Although I will say, I kind of wish I was aware of that whole Robinhood thing that happened a couple of years ago, where the Robinhood app that you can get for your phone, which you can invest small amounts into different stocks.
Oh yeah.
How everyone got together on Reddit and just bought a whole bunch of the same of the stock and just inflated their net worth. That would have been freaking cool, and then just slowly sold it off.
As much as sometimes Reddit gives me a headache, because a lot of people just answer some of the silliest answers, or they give some of the silliest answers to the most direct questions, there are beautiful moments where they all come together to screw over a big company, and the world just has to breathe in. Thank you, Reddit.
Well, here's the thing. The majority of Reddit is just a bunch of smartasses. I'm one of them, but still.
I was going to say, as I sit here and refresh trying to get an answer to one of my questions on Reddit, I just asked 56 minutes ago, it says.
You know, it's funny. I asked one probably 2 hours ago, and I still have no replies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know the feel. But when you post something stupid, you get like thousands of replies in like 10 minutes.
Yes.
But anyway, we're not talking about Reddit. We're talking about games.
That most certainly is the principle. State the wrong answer and get the right answer. Unless, of course, I've totally misunderstood, because I was just looking at the post and it did have a reply. My brain goes beep.
That's funny. So let's circle back and let's talk about something here that you're mentioning. You had a quest that you're doing. I called it a quest, but you're just saying, "Hey, I beat this. I beat that. I beat this."
Yes.
So what games have you beaten recently?
Oh, let's see here. Well, you talking about Simon's Quest. I did that last year. I had bought my copy off of Scamazon. See, I've got a funny name for everything, folks. And because I just wanted a copy, because that was, here we go again. Hold on, we're going to need that music. Imagine an 8-year-old me without the beard and the balding head at a flea market seeing Simon's Quest on a table, and the whole freaking flea market smells like cigars and pipe smoke because it's just old people everywhere. And there's country music, and then one guy over there selling car stereos, and he's got Ace of Base bumping because, back in the 90s. So I bought Simon's Quest and absolutely loved it, even though I didn't understand it. My thought was, how many of these things can I kill when it turned night? Or how far this direction can I go before I ended up dying? I didn't know that there was a real purpose to the game. To me, that felt like one of the first open world games I had ever experienced. So I had to have a new copy after I sold mine off to Beepco Land. And so I bought one, and then I'm thinking, it doesn't have save states, so I'm never in a million years going to get through this. Never in a million years going to get through this. So I emulated it, and that was last year. Was it before that I beat Dragon Quest III? I think so. But more recently, it started off with Crystallis, and then Star Tropics, which I wasn't a fan of, but in a way, I think the reason again was just that Nintendo hard. They made things so convoluted that it really served no purpose other than it needed to be difficult to kind of stretch things out. Then Uncle Fester's Quest, which you said that you enjoyed.
I did enjoy it as a kid, but I didn't know what I was doing or anything.
Exactly. Yeah,
I
that's
just thought
another
it
one of
was
those
just
games.
inane running around doing nothing and collecting
Yeah.
stuff.
And that's the same thing.
My friend was like, "This is a stupid game. Why do you like it?" It's like, I'm collecting stuff. This is cool. Now, if I was to go back and play it, I'd probably figure out how to play it.
Yeah, as soon as you figure out the pink and blue power-ups for the weapons, I think it's pretty good. Of course, you do have to fight bosses, which you actually, okay, I'm wrong. You don't. There is in every... Okay, everybody sit down. Listen to this. Grandpa's talking. All right, I tell you, I was playing through the game, and I was using a guide, and the guide guy told me, as long as you've got a key, in every boss room, there's a little spot. You got one spot where Uncle Fester can walk over to it, use a key, and defeat the boss without doing anything. So technically, you don't have to fight the boss. There were a couple of them that I tried multiple times and decided, no, I'll just use the key.
Well, I mean, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
I should go back and play it.
You should. After Uncle Fester's Quest, I genuinely think that was Zelda 2. I can't think of anything in between. And currently I'm debating A Link to the Past. Now, I would love to play A Link to the Past because, as I told you earlier, I've, quote, beat it because I used a glitch that, bypassed it. It was literally... Somebody was talking about speedrunning the game, and then they said, okay, here's how you do that. And it was literally like 30 seconds or something. You use a glitch, you're into the boss room, and then off to the... I can't remember. As we've discussed, my memory is faulty. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that just for fun. So I did that just for fun. Technically beat the game, but never played through the game, and I want to play through the game. That is the objective. So I'm thinking about going through and playing A Link to the Past, but also Metroid.
Hey man, with Metroid you can put in some fun codes. Justin Bailey.
Yeah, that's
Vorpal Sword.
Well, there's another thing with A Link to the Past where... Do you remember the Chris Houlihan room or whatever it was?
No, actually, I do not.
Okay. I guess during Final Fantasy I, if you found the War Mech or whatever, you were supposed to take a photo of it, send it to Nintendo, and then they would put you, I guess you or your name, in another video game at some point. And the winner is... or the theory is that the winner was this kid or this guy or whatever, and there's a special room in A Link to the Past where you pick up a lot of blue rupees, and when you walk in, it says like, "Hi, my name is Chris Houlihan." Or whatever.
Oh yeah, okay, I remember that one.
But there's an alternative theory where they're kind of like, yeah, the kid never existed. It was just, this or that. And I kind of start to think about that when I'm thinking about Kool-Aid points. because I wonder
God, I
if
haven't thought of
anybody,
those.
yeah, I wonder if anybody actually had like the big top prices from the Kool-Aid points. I miss the 90s.
Well, things were simpler because we
Yeah,
weren't adults yet.
exactly. And that's the exact situation. It's a lot simpler when you're a kid. You don't have to do anything but eat, drink, play video games.
School. Ugh.
Oh, who does that? What are you talking about going to school? Where you and I met. Weirdo.
Yeah.
Why would people go to school? Ugh.
Hey, you want to feel old?
As if I don't already.
Well, I was gonna say, I've known you for 26 years.
Yeah. That's please don't say that ever again.
But I don't live there anymore, and
No.
well, you don't live there anymore either. But we still kept in contact, so there's that.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough talking about the past, unless it's video game related, because yeah. Anyway, things got a little sappy for a second there. Got a little weird.
Quite weird. What
So-
else can we talk about?
That I don't know. I haven't been really playing a lot of older games lately since I've been playing mostly on my Switch or my Xbox lately. I will say the most recent game that I did beat was Dragon Quest Builders 2. It's weird, I own it on the Switch, but I was playing it on the Xbox because, well, I could connect my laptop or connect to Game Pass with my laptop and play that when I'm out and about on a bigger screen than my Switch has. See, even now, I want a bigger screen than a little screen when I play my games.
Yeah, that's the thing with me. I literally just did a few months back change over from a 13-inch CRTV, I believe, which was my CRT TV all the way back then. That little thing, it's done a lot of heavy lifting, and now I have an LCD. And yeah, I hate to say it, but I don't think I could go back because it's wide, it's bigger, and it's just one of those things where it shows so much more to me. And
In the late 90s, well, mid 90s actually, before I moved out and to stay with my dad, and that's where we met. The first TV that I bought myself, I bought a Super Nintendo with Link to the Past with my summer job money when I was 15. I wasn't even 16 yet because, summer program. Anyway, my first TV that I owned or bought myself, I talked to my neighbor into taking us to a thrift store before they closed, and they had I don't remember if it was 13 or 19-inch black and white TV. I picked one up for like 10 or 12 bucks or something, and I was playing my video games on that one until I got like 2 more paychecks and bought a real TV that was color, but it was still used. But yeah, so that was kind of fun.
About black and white TVs.
Well, black and white shows you more detail.
Well, and that's one thing that I was going to say is the fact that it totally and completely ruined one of my favorite. Hold on, everybody. Prepare the gasp. Atari Jaguar games. Yeah. There was a racing game on the Atari Jaguar that felt like a ripoff of that one Sega Genesis racing game. Oh, boy. See, the thing is, I should really have notes already prepared, but this is off the cuff. But basically, it was really good, even though it was on the Atari Jaguar. Stay with me, folks, I promise. It was really good, but I was playing it on a little black and white TV. And then when I got the 13-inch CRT that I have, its color, I couldn't play it anymore. It completely ruined it for me. Completely. And I'm just like, no, I can't do this anymore. It's different. I don't know why, but it was different.
Yeah, it's kind of the only problem when it comes to the my brain just stopped working. It's been one of those days. But no, that's the only problem with black and white TVs is you see things that you don't see on a color TV. And I don't know if it's because black and white gives a better picture, or if it's just the fact that your eyes are looking at the TV different than it would be if it's color, so you see things that you don't see.
That is a good question.
I'm sure there's someone has answered it in the past, but I don't feel like looking for it.
No. Why do we want to do research on this?
I mean, it's almost like we may have a website that's, but no, we don't have a website on black and white TVs. We have one on video games.
One thing I have noticed is when I'm playing emulation on the new TV, and like the character, specifically in Zelda 2, when Link would get hit and he would flash, it had the scan lines, throughout him that were missing. And I find that extremely fascinating, that they would, instead of programming in with the sprite, the scan lines, or rather just, filling them in completely, they programmed in that there were going to be scan lines at these certain places and just didn't bother. Maybe that has to do with space. Maybe that has to do with, as far as memory or something. I'm not sure.
It might be the emulator, though, too.
Ah, that is a good question.
Because some games, when they're emulated on other consoles, even on the Switch Online or the Wii Virtual Console games, those are official emulation. They don't have some of those issues, but yet I've seen weird issues on other emulation machines.
That is a good point.
Programs.
That is a very good point.
So, yeah, all kinds of stuff. We've been talking for 49 minutes about absolutely nothing.
Yeah. If nothing else, this will help lull people to sleep.
Well, where I'm at, it's almost 9 o'clock, so I mean, that sounds about right. So, do we have anything else to talk about here today? I think we've kind of given them a feel of how we're going to be doing things. We're going to actually have topics in the future, and we're going to try to talk on those topics. We might go on some tangents here and there, but then we might even go over some news if there's some new news going on. The most recent retro game related news that I've really been following is, the end of last year, a kid beat Tetris for the first time and got the kill screen, and then a couple days later, another guy did it, and since then, numerous people have gotten to the kill screen, and they actually are looking for other ways of playing and beating the game. So some people are looking to see if they can go past those screens. Other people are looking to see if they can get the kill screen on earlier levels, or all that kind of fun stuff. But I'm not talking about the news now. I'm just kind of rambling.
What's interesting about what you just said is my brain is so fried at this point in time that when you said last year a kid beat Tetris for the first time and found the kill screen, my brain mixed that up to last year a kid was killed playing Tetris.
I mean, it could happen.
It's possible.
I hope not, but it could.
If you don't eat, don't drink, don't do anything, you're just sitting there and you're playing Tetris and that's all you do, I imagine that's possible.
I mean, there was a guy in, was it South Korea, probably 20 years ago, who in an internet cafe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was playing for like 36 or something like that hours straight. And he died because he forgot to eat, forgot to drink, and all that fun stuff. And it was that combined with exhaustion, and he just died playing some online game.
Mm-hmm.
I may have got some
I
of the
remember that
details
now.
incorrect, but it was something along those lines.
Yeah, something to that effect. One news article that I'm actually still sad about is, do you remember when everybody was bringing out information about the N64 Classic as if it was really going to happen?
Yeah, I could see it still happening, but
I
I'm
hope
kind of
so.
sad that it's not. One thing I would love is I would just love a virtual console only classic system.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you
That
could buy
actually
you could buy just the little console like a Super Nintendo Classic, and then connect it to your Wi-Fi and just download the games you want.
Mhm.
Even if you have to buy like $5 or something for it.
Yeah. Come on, Nintendo. Pick up the ball. Run with it. I think that's a very good idea.
I would like it because then I could get just the games that I want, and that's about it.
Now, naturally, talking about emulation and stuff, but I definitely think they've proved with the NES Classic, the Super Nintendo Classic, and even the hype around an N64 Classic, there would be enough people that would latch on to that.
Dude, look at the second Genesis Mini they put out. People latched onto that.
There's a second?
Yeah, it had Sega CD games.
Wow. I'm behind the times. I'm still stuck on the AT games.
Yeah, but I know that you wanted to go ahead and hack yours and add cartridge slot. I'm actually kind of interested in buying the 2600 plus.
Well, I actually have the Sega Genesis from AT Games that has the cartridge slot on it.
I didn't know there was. Oh, yeah, it was like a. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. The thing is, of course, I never use it. That is coming from an idiot, I mean me, who, I have the Genesis 3. So if I need a small Sega console, I'll go to the Genesis 3.
Well, to be fair, you also have a Genesis 1, a Genesis 2, Sega CD. You have like 500,000 different game consoles.
Well, I wasn't going to go into that, but I mean,
I've only
sure.
got 20, but anyway. I should say 20 different. Anyway, let's not go off on that tangent.
Let's not forget all the backups of consoles that I have, considering the fact that I have 3 of the original NES consoles. But who doesn't have at least 3 of the original NES consoles?
I don't. I've got 2.
Okay, that answers my question.
I want a top loader, though.
Well, I'm not giving you mine.
I should just give up and just get a Retron 5.
I've wanted to find a Retron 5, but I've heard a lot of problems with them.
Well, the only problem I heard is that they were using an unlicensed emulator.
Yeah, as far as them, but I've heard a lot of them just stop working. Now,
Really?
the circumstances around that, are plenty, because you never know what somebody may or may not be doing. Not to victim blame or anything, but if somebody pours a Coke, as they did plenty of times in an NES, if they pour a Coke into a Retron 5, of course it's going to stop working. But I, as you well know, go through and I like to watch repair videos on YouTube, and they've shown up a couple of times where they're not working, they won't power on. So
interesting. You should make some cleaning tutorials.
Oh, well, maybe one of these days. Oh, you mean video games? I thought you were talking about OnlyFans. Never mind.
Hey, I still had the idea of starting an OnlyFans and just putting pictures of fans. But anyway.
I have a great idea now that we're on that subject.
Although I say it as a joke, but I'm pretty sure if I was actually do it, people would subscribe just because they think it would be funny.
Considering the fact that we're old, and I'm not saying that either of us do this, but for older people who are probably not going to fit into the mold of an OnlyFans, we'll open a website called Oldie Fans for your GILF pleasures.
No.
No?
No, we should open up game fans.
I mean, you almost slipped to the tongue there, and I could see how that could be used for. I mean, not against.
What do you mean almost slip of the tongue? That's just
If that's the thing, whoever wants to use it, that's fine. But it could definitely be slightly adjusted for a certain,
we are going off the rails again.
Going off the rails of the crazy train.
Oh God, there's more. I just saw an ad for some weird controllers. I pulled up Hyperkin to look at the Retron 5.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Hyperkin that did it. Anyway, I already sent you the Oscar Mayer edition controller, but there's also a Sriracha one and a Kool-Aid one.
I did not see the Kool-Aid one. I saw the Sriracha one, so I can't even pronounce that, so I'm going to stop before I say something terrible. But yeah, I didn't see the Kool-Aid one.
Anyway, now I'm getting all kind of weird. Anyway.
Now, are those 8-bit dough, or are those...
Those are Hyperkin.
Hyperkin? Okay. Because they kind of, not to get into anybody's business, they kind of look like those 8-bit dough controllers that they had that were really popular there for a while.
I still have mine. My 8-bit dough. It's the NES one that had the 4 buttons and the shoulder buttons.
Hyperkin Duke wired controller. Wow. I did not know that the Duke controller was that popular.
Yeah, but I think that one also has a screen where the Xbox logo used to be.
You are correct, yeah. See, I was so dumb when I had my Xbox that I took the little clear plastic piece off and I printed out a different Xbox thing and stuck it in there. And I thought that was cool until it kept falling off and I could never get it to stick. Because you use super glue and then it turns that all, cloudy and you can't really use it. It doesn't look good. So my poor Duke was never correct ever again.
See, you broke it.
I did. I most certainly did.
I have a confession to make.
Oh no. We're talking about video games, man. We're not doing any of that other stuff.
Well, too bad. I'm going to tell you a confession anyway. I have the original Xbox, but I never had controllers for it.
Really?
Nope. Never did. I hacked it, but that was about it.
Do not go Pelican. Do not go Pelican.
Hey, I have a controller that I really like that is Pelican.
Really? Oh, is that the
SNES style GameCube controller?
Okay, you're right. I do remember you giving that rave reviews. But as far as maybe I should add Xbox Pelican controllers. Because again, after I had completely and totally ruined my Duke, I needed a controller. So as any hillbilly does, hi y'all, what's this? I went to Walmart. That we're gonna have to bleep that one out. I went to Walmart and I found whatever they had, and the cheapest thing they had was Pelican. So I bought the Pelican controller. I got it home, and literally within a few days, it stopped working. Completely stopped working. And this isn't, rage quitting or being a, little D-bag. No, it just stopped working. And I went back, I got another. And it took about a month, and it started acting up. So they probably make really good controllers for other things, But
well, remember, mine has a short in it.
Yeah. In my experience, it was not good for the Xbox.
Hey, I know what I'll do.
No,
I'll buy a broken GameCube controller. Send you my controller and the broken GameCube controller, and let you do a transplant of the cable.
Well, not that this is a plug or anything, but on my blog, I took a quote from Mallrats, and basically somebody had taken a GameCube controller and lopped off the connection end that goes into the console and just left the controller hanging there. So I picked that up at a thrift store. That's the word I was looking for. And what I did was the extension cables. Remember those?
Oh
You
yeah.
just buy the extension cable and your controller is 10 feet longer. If only there were something. Anyways, so I took that and I lopped off the plug into end and then soldered that into the controller and totally fixed it. The GameCube controller is one of the easiest controllers to fix because it's like 4 solder spots. You have 3 connections and then a ground, and it is so easy to repair as long as there's not a short between A and B. But
Yep.
if we could figure out where the short is in yours, as long as it's not like, all the way by the plug end, then it probably isn't that difficult to fix.
I think it's actually up near the controller end, actually.
Okay. Then from what I would do is I would probably take it and cut off maybe 3 or 4 inches and then kind of, start peeling the wires back and then, solder that back together and see if that helped.
I mean, I could fire up my soldering iron, but I'm lazy.
Yeah,
I'll let
especially
I'll let you.
not
I'll
at
let a
9
professional do
p.m.
it. No, I was going to say I'll let you do it. Yeah,
Who the hell's getting the job?
I was going to send it to you.
Yeah, but
You have a lot. You got a lot more experience with soldering than I do.
Yes, but I've also burnt myself many times.
I burned myself quite bad one time, and I still have a mark on my finger from it, and that was 20-something years ago. I wasn't thinking. I went and grabbed it like a pencil, and it glued itself to my skin, and I had to rip off a bunch, and I had a wound there for a while, and yeah.
Well, there definitely are those memes where the young lady who is sitting there for a stock photo, she's holding it down on the metal end, and although I've never heard this, but again, I'm not a professional. I guess the saying goes, if it smells like chicken, you're doing it wrong.
I have not heard that.
Yeah.
So we've talking over an hour now.
We've taken everybody on an extremely wild ride, and I apologize.
We should just rename the show the Tangent Cast.
Yeah, just talking about whatever.
Well, you did say you wanted to get together and shoot the breeze.
Yeah.
As an intro.
The poor breeze. It has been utterly and thoroughly shot.
It has been riddled with holes.
Mm-hmm. Like a welcome to Alabama sign.
Ugh. You know what the sad thing is?
I think we've just lost everybody who listens in Alabama.
No, because it's accurate, but I'll tell you something that is also accurate.
I can't believe it. That dude on that video game podcast, he talk about signs like the one outside there. Hey, Merlene, go check that sign. How many bullet holes in there? 58? Hey, see? It's more than yesterday.
Well, no. I'm only saying it's pretty accurate because going on the road with my sister's fiance, 20 years ago or more, 24, whatever. It's not just an Alabama thing. It's literally everywhere you go. There's like bullet holes and signs.
Well, if I'm allowed to bring something up, there's a certain movie with Mark Wahlberg in it that also includes Zach Wilde, if you can believe it. Have you seen this movie?
I have not.
Okay, should I name this movie?
It might be the movie I'm thinking about, but yes, go ahead and name it because, it's a movie that's out there. It's not like it's an adult movie.
As a matter of fact, I think it's like 20 years old, but I believe it's called Rockstar, isn't it?
Oh, that's not the one I was thinking of.
Well, I mean, that's what Google's for, so...
I'm glad that's the movie that you're talking about, because I was thinking of a movie when I said it's not an adult movie. It was pretty close.
Well, I mean, there are some in this. So...
anyway,
yeah.
Now we're just going...
Okay.
We're getting weird now.
But hold on. This has Zach Wilde in it as part of the rock band, and he does shoot at a road sign or a welcome to sign from the tour bus as they're driving by, and that was my first introduction to that type of thing happening. I had
Really?
never seen that happen before. And especially, when I was living in Michigan, because they love to keep their road signs very clean and tidy. Of course, there are going to be people laughing at that. But,
Dude, it
yes, sir.
happens in Michigan too.
Does it?
One of the times we went up to Jackson, Michigan, and then back down to Detroit, and then up to Jackson, and one day, you see plenty of those types of signs all over.
Okay. Well, I must have been I was in Oakland County. So if at least back in 2001, if you looked up Oakland County, that was like one of the richest counties in the United States. One of, not the one, but it was definitely a clean place, especially with the bottle returns.
Bottle returns.
Mm-hmm.
I've never lived anywhere where they actually gave you the anything back.
Really?
Well, at least Arizona never had it when I lived there, and I don't know if they do that here.
Yeah, I know Indiana doesn't, and boy, we are so far off topics. So we're making a video game where basically you return bottles, and when you return the bottle, you get points, and it'll go like bleep bloop. Yeah, that's how we tie that in.
You know what the sad thing is? I can see that as being like an indie game.
Yeah, it could happen.
All right, we should probably wrap this up for this episode because
Yeah.
some people like long episodes, other people don't. We've been talking for an hour and 11 minutes.
Well, I'm quite sure most of this stuff is going to get bleeped out or cut out, or hell, if you just shove it up all the way, not in that way, but the whole thing, just fist it right up into the podcasting world. There's going to be a lot of people going, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah, you're weird. Anyway, I'm probably
So
going to do that anyway.
As an outro for myself, I would like to sincerely apologize to anyone that has had to listen to myself drone on and on, but I am trying my best to take care of my cat Fifi.
Oh, don't bring that into it.
Then we'll have to explain it to people who don't know.
Oh no, maybe I'll take clips from that and throw it in at the end just because
Oh,
failed
yeah.
intros from God, how long ago was that?
That was probably close to 14 years ago.
Let me pull up my YouTube channel real quick where I've unlisted the video.
Okay. But I definitely assure any listener that I do not have a cat named Fifi. It was a small gag that I tried to push and push and push. When we originally tried to do some sort of podcast or visual cast or something, but the joke just kept making both of us crack up to the point where almost none of it was usable. And at some point, I felt I had to at least bring up my cat Fifi, even though the cat does not sincerely exist.
Yeah, it was about 13 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I had a lot more hair. I had a lot more sense. Oh, I had a lot more going for me back then.
And you had the best beard on YouTube.
Yeah, back then. Now, I've seen so many beards on YouTube. I'm not even sure if I have a beard on YouTube.
I was going to say, because now the hair from the top of your head has slipped down and added to your beard.
Yeah.
Anyway, now that we're devolving into weird stuff now because we ran out of things to talk about, we should probably go ahead and end it.
Absolutely.
So that concludes episode 1 of the Vintage View podcast, or whatever we're calling this day. You can find us. Yeah, well, we'll probably still go for it anyway.
All right.
Because we've been talking about that for a couple of years anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you can always find us at thevintagegamers.com or on YouTube can find me, at least, at The Vintage Gamers. And we've also got at Vintage Gamers for YouTube and The Vintage Gamers on Twitter and Facebook. And eventually we might even have a phone number so we can get some voice comments from people.
Ooh, that sounds scary.
Yeah. The only thing is I'll have to listen to them beforehand to make sure that they're not trolling us.
True.
Or maybe I'll listen to it anyway, and maybe that'll make it even more... Or I won't listen to it, and that'll make it more fun.
Sounds dangerous.
Anyway, again, this has been Scott from the Vintage Gamers.
And I'm Samuel.
And somewhere around here is Fifi. See you guys later.
Bye-bye.